Hello, and thanks again for joining us for another Fathom Live, a live stream show dedicated. We are dedicated to giving you tips and insights from experts in and around the real estate industry. I'm your host, Jeff Sturt. So glad to be with you today. If you haven't heard the scuttlebutt, the hubbub, the word on the street, Fathom's made headlines today, or at least not headlines. We've made it on the cover of a magazine, so you can check that out at resmedia.com or go to our Facebook page if you're there right now. And if you're a Fathom agent, if you're not, go ahead and share that puppy, and let's get that around the internet. So pretty cool stuff there, and read the article too. It gives a really good synopsis of what Fathom is as a company, so I encourage you to check that out. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about getting involved in your local real estate groups and societies and organizations, as well as the importance of training. And with us here, waiting in the wings, is DeJane Kerr. She is our director of national training, but also is a real estate agent herself who has gotten involved in her local organizations there. So we're going to be bringing her on in just a minute. There is a contest, a giveaway, a drawing. So if you get to the comments on Facebook and YouTube, we'll make sure that we pull your name, not your name, we'll make sure we pull from those names to announce the winner, and you can win a yard sign package, a photo listing package, a on-target transaction, or $200 worth of Go Social Leads service. All of those packages have at least a $200 value, if not more. So I encourage you to start shouting out, just say your name and where you're from. I guess your name's on your profile, so you don't need that, but tell us where you're from. Our sponsor, and I don't have that the splash screen. Oh, I do. Here it is. Let's see if this pulls up. It's not. A new computer. So our sponsor is Go Social Agent. You can check them out at GoSocialAgent.com. They'll help you get your account set up looking nice on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. They will automate postings for you on your behalf so you can have a consistent, regular reach with your sphere of influence on social media. They'll also run ads for you. They will run ads, and they'll do things that if people click on them, they'll go to houseofpd.com and they'll see you there on the sidebar, so that it continues to encourage them to give you a look if they are in the market for a house. So again, you can check them out at GoSocialAgent.com. If you haven't yet, hit the notification bell on YouTube. Do that. If you haven't liked our page on Facebook, please do that. We have with us today, let's get started here. We have DeJane Kerr, hailing from the home turf there in Cary, North Carolina. DeJane, welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, I forgot one thing.
Yeah.
We had a winner last week, or 2 weeks ago when we did our show, and I'm going to try to pronounce the name correctly, and this person actually put the pronunciation on their Facebook page, so I have no excuse if I mess it up. It's Birgit Capuchile. Chili. I just messed it up. Birgit Capuchile. I think I said it right. You know who you are. So congratulations on being picked. If you share, by the way, today's episode, then you get to be drawn 5 times, or have your name entered 5 times. The same thing if you make a comment, which I see a lot of people commenting already. AJ Goodwin, Karen Brooks, Andre, I'm going to mess it up, Denise, Josh, Risa, Kaylin, all kinds of folks. If you make a comment or ask a question that gets then put on the show, we will enter your name 5 times into that drawing as well. So get to the comments and have a conversation with us, and we'll enjoy that together. So first of all, before we get started here, I understand that you are a avid world traveler.
Yes. Love to travel. Have the travel bug.
Where do you go? Where have you gone? What's your favorite places?
Everywhere. Most recently, got to go to England and Scotland and Northern Ireland and Ireland.
Just a hop across the pond.
On a trip there. That was a lot of fun. So yeah,
Very good. Very good. Now, I also understand that you have a very strict, rigid, strategic diet in order to get your system accustomed to the local foods. And what if you could share your secret? What is your secret to making sure that your body can withstand any sort of diet as you travel overseas?
I do. Because I don't avoid local cuisine and local water and ice and things like that. I'm not one of those people. I'm like,
Let's just do
taste
it.
everything, experience everything, absorb it all, right? And so to avoid getting sick and, whatever, I keep a steady diet, like you said, very strict and very strategic of fast food and junk food the rest of the time.
Excellent.
And it keeps my body and system conditioned for the worst possible
Right.
conditions. And then when I travel and get bad food or bad water, my system just thinks it's normal, and I go about my business. And
You just
and
handle
knock
it.
on wood, I don't get sick when I travel. When other members of my party does.
That's right.
So see,
Because
I think I'm onto something. This is decades that this has worked for me. I don't know.
Intestinal
it works for
conditioning
me.
from fast food sounds like a winner. If you had to pick one? What's your favorite training diet?
Oh, wow. Whataburger.
Right there. Now, I have the benefit of being here in Texas, where we have these on every street corner.
Yes,
But
yes.
I understand not you guys. Not you.
No.
Yeah.
I'm originally from Texas, so Whataburger is very sentimental to me. But no, we don't have them here in North Carolina. So yeah,
Very good.
Unfortunately.
Very good. Yes. Well, I hope if you're listening, you take that advice to heart and update your diet. You might put the dye in the diet, but we'll see. It's worked for DeJane. So as we get started here, just kind of give maybe your story real quick, how you got into real estate, and made your way into the director of training role here at Fathom. And just for our viewers who are not Fathom agents, we are offering here some practical takeaways. So this isn't just the Fathom show about Fathom Realty. This is just about how you as an agent can develop yourself. So maybe share your story real quick, and then we'll get to some other stuff.
Well, it's a bit of a story, but it does directly relate to what we're talking about today. So back in 2010, I was leaving my corporate life, and I was taking a year off to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I was shopping for a house, and I called the agent on the yard sign. Like most of the public, I think, I didn't realize at that time that the agent on the yard sign worked for the seller. But that particular house wasn't the right one for me. But meeting that particular agent turned out to be a pivotal point in my life. His name was Joe Worth, here in Raleigh, Durham. And as we're working through the transaction on my home, we got to know each other. I really came to respect and trust him. I talked with him about my previous interest in real estate, but my hesitation had always been essentially being on call all the time. Nights
Sure.
and weekends with clients, all that stuff. I just didn't want that. It just was not anything that I wanted to be a part of. Well, through all of our conversations, he convinced me that it didn't have to be that way. If you structured your business and set boundaries with your clients and things like that, you could make it work without that being the case. And so if I wanted to get my real estate license, I could hang it with his small private brokerage, and he'd show me the ropes. So I kind of tucked that away in the back of my mind and went about settling into my house. I painted everything that would sit still, built my own built-ins, organized and decorated to the nines. Essentially, I got to take 3 months to just channel my inner Martha Stewart, right? And 3 months later, it was time to focus on something a little more.
I'm curious
productive.
among our guests, like how many or people watching, our audience, how
Yeah.
many of you got into real estate on account of selling your own home. And I mean, after you kind of made that transaction, went, I think I can do this.
Curious too. Yeah, I would be curious too. Well,
anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, after, because I can't be the only one. There's too many agents that say, well, I like showing homes, so maybe I'll get into real estate. So there's got to be a connection there, right? Well, after I got my real estate license and all this time I had stayed in touch with Joe, knowing that I was going to be going with him when I did get my license. Well, as it turns out, that same time is when Joe was connecting with Josh Harley in Dallas, Texas. And Josh had recently started Fathom Realty. And at that time, I believe Josh only had 40 or 50 agents in Dallas. This, again, was back in 2010.
Right.
And Joe's firm here in Raleigh would become the second Fathom Realty market right as I got my license. And so I was really fortunate to have been with Fathom since just about the very beginning.
Yeah.
And it was very exciting past 10 years. And I think I heard my dog just made an appearance there. So he just got back from his walk. So I remember when I got an email from Joe, and it had a few website links on it and a couple passwords. And it basically said, hey, here are your logins. Let me know if you need anything, and good luck. So that was his idea of showing me the ropes, right? And so I was straight out of real estate school, knew nothing about what to do. And so I just jumped in and haven't looked back. And so that first full year in the business was 2011. I think I closed, maybe 20 to 22 transactions, something like that.
Very good, yeah.
At that time in the market, I cut my teeth on short sales because that's what there was in the market. Yeah, and I just took lots of classes, got certifications, designations, learned from other agents, asked tons of questions. That year, I also got nominated and graduated from the Triangle Realtors Leadership Academy, which is for our MLS, our regional area here. Here at Fathom, a couple years later, I became a group leader. And that is where, at that time, we had that position, and it was where we would help the broker with small group training meetings, answer some of the agent questions. From that point, I became a district director. Here in North Carolina, we call that a broker in charge. After that, I moved into the national training manager role, and later that developed and grew into the director of national training role. All that to say, I found my way into a training role overall because in the beginning, there just wasn't that much available here.
Right.
There was a big hole, and over the years, we've worked to bridge that gap. We've made a lot of progress, and there's still so much more we have on our to-do list. But every day I continue to be just super excited and grateful to have the opportunity to help agents, again, just every day, in my role here at Fathom. I'm super blessed, not only to be at Fathom, but to get to do what I get to do. So
along the way, you got involved in your local real estate community. What organizations and groups are you a part of at this point, and why did you kind of choose to do those?
Well, it's funny because I started getting involved with real estate network groups before my MLS access was even activated. I was still waiting for the next available MLS orientation class, but I wanted to do something in the meantime, so I went to that month's Women's Council of Realtors meeting. And that happened to be the same meeting where they introduced the election candidates for the next year's officers. Well, they announced that they didn't have a candidate for the secretary seat. And if anyone was interested, please talk to them after the meeting, right? So at that time, I was serving as secretary on other non-real estate related boards. So I stayed behind and introduced myself. I was talking with them about the meeting, gave feedback, asked questions, got more information, et cetera.
Right.
I offered my experience and said, if they couldn't find anyone else, then I would be happy to help out until they could find someone else.
Right. Yeah, that's not usually how it goes.
Yeah, I barely got those words out of my mouth before the president was calling across the room to the president-elect, introducing me and, saying, hey, she said she'd be secretary, and all of this. And so we were off and running. And so the next year I was awarded Member of the Year, and then it became president-elect, and then president and past president, and eventually graduated from the National Leadership Academy with Women's Council, and it's been an interesting and meaningful experience. And Women's Council has played a huge role in my real estate story. I just can't say enough about it. Women's Council has been great. Aside from Women's Council, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish that.
I was going to say, aside from Women's Council, I've also been actively involved in various other groups and committees at the association over the years, such as the Strategic Planning Committee, Grievance Committee in the past years, currently on the Professional Standards Committee. One other one to highlight is the Realtor Foundation Service Committee. Here in Raleigh, it used to be called the Community Service Committee. That one's really special because up until March of this year, obviously, it allowed us to get out in the community as a group and work hands-on to make a difference to those in need by way of projects like volunteering in soup kitchens, a project called Cooling Wake County, which is where we would deliver air conditioning units during the summer to residents at high medical risk, furnishing apartments for families, helping them transition out of homelessness, collecting and filling duffel bags full of essentials for foster children. We used to build wheelchair ramps for residents in the county that couldn't afford wheelchair ramps, and they might be in the hospital and they couldn't be sent home until they had some way to get into their house.
Right.
USO drives and Project Angel Tree, and just lots of different things like that. And it's really special getting to participate in things like that. So just some of those things.
Yeah, and I didn't realize, that those different groups do so much sort of philanthropy for the community as well.
There's lots more.
Go Whataburger.
Yeah.
But when it, as far as, you said that especially the Women's Council, but I'm sure these other groups as well, really benefited your real estate career. I guess the question is, why should our agents who are watching really consider getting involved in some of these societies?
Well, it's no surprise, that I'm a big believer in getting involved. You can tell. I told you a little bit about my Women's Council journey. Those relationships started back when, some of those relationships that started way back then are still priceless to me. And that's been 10 years. There is no way that I could quantify how much I have learned as a result of my involvement with Women's Council over the years. I certainly don't think that I would have found my stride as quickly in real estate, and I'm positive that I would have missed out on some of the most amazing learning experiences with some really incredible people. And, there's always something to learn, from every situation.
Right.
And
chances are, I mean, the kind of people that would be involved in something like that are people that are looking to really grow themselves as a realtor. And so you're it's kind of an iron sharpening iron setting, where you've got mentors, you can mentor other people, and I'm sure hear a lot of great advice and counsel.
You're surrounding yourself with the people that are exactly that are wanting to grow and wanting to be successful.
And these are mostly free opportunities, right? I mean, this is just a matter of carving out the time.
But what you're getting out of it, the value of the meetings and the experiences and the trainings and the presenters and the events, and far, far, far outweighs the membership fee. I
don't know if I think you'd mentioned among those different committees that you were on, the Grievance Committee and Professional Standards Committee. What are those? And as you've had the opportunity to participate in those, I guess, hearings or whatever they are, what do you see as common things that would help an agent out listening to either do or avoid?
So, when an agent or a member of the public files a complaint with our association or the MLS, it's initially reviewed by the Grievance Committee to determine whether to dismiss it, or if it appears to be a founded complaint, then it's escalated to the Professional Standards Committee for a full panel hearing and judgment. So those panel hearings have a complainant and a respondent, and there may be attorneys representing one or both sides, and there may be witnesses called on either side.
Wow.
So it's a very official process. Now, over the years, I've seen and heard many, many things. So I was on Grievance Committee for 4 years, Professional Standards for 3 years. So lots of different things in those 7 years thus far. Lots of examples of what not to do, all confidential, of course. So participating on these committees are great examples of getting to contribute and give back to the association and MLS by volunteering, building relationships with other panel members who I know are extremely knowledgeable, professional, ethical. Again, surrounding yourself with people like we were just talking about, people who you want to surround yourself with,
right.
But also gaining knowledge. So like we're talking about, learning myself from these experiences on an ongoing basis. So it helps me represent my clients better, helps me protect Fathom, in my case, my brokerage better, and beyond that, helping me, be a better trainer. So
right.
the two things that I would pass along as the probably the two biggest things. First, the first one is to start by always, and I know it sounds simple, but always doing the right thing. Always think about
a lot of problems. It solves a lot of problems.
Right. And think about, as a realtor, your fiduciary duties and the code of ethics. Remember, in a transaction, it's not about us as the agent, it's about our client and how we can best serve and protect them within the boundaries of the code of ethics. And then number two, document. In almost every grievance or professional standards situation that I've seen over the years, it could have been avoided or at least dramatically improved by documentation.
Very good.
If any of you have taken some of my trainings, then you know I drill this point home, especially in our mentor program. But there's a really good reason. One of the things I say often is that you never think you'll be in that situation, right? Your clients
Right.
love you. They would never get upset with you. They'd never file a complaint. The agent on the other side of the table would never have a reason to file a complaint on you. You're good to go, right? You're fine. And you are. Right up until the moment you're not.
Right.
Right up until that second. And at that very moment is, if that very moment is when you don't have documentation in place already, then it's too late.
Right.
And it's potentially bigger than just you. You can obviously be putting yourself on the line, and even your brokerage. But you can also be doing your client a disservice and putting them at risk by not having your documentation in place as well. And so that comes back to lesson number 1, which was doing the right thing for your client and fiduciary duties. So it's just not worth it, guys. Document. All right, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, that's good. That's good. I don't think that's actually been said very much. I mean, we've had title people on that talk about, those particular documents, but just, making sure that those things that may hit the fan, that you have documentation on that. And it's a bit naive to think that if you are the nicest person in the world, that you can get along with everybody and everything's just going to be fine, because there's not good people. There's some not good people out there that are trying to take advantage of you, or sometimes just emotions flare and things happen that, like you said, you wouldn't foresee happening, but by the end of the transaction or thereafter, things are.
Well,
go ahead.
And sometimes you get drug in because the person on the other side of the table is called to the carpet.
Right.
And so you may get drug in just because you were part of the transaction. So you may not have done anything wrong.
Right. And it might not even be your client.
Yeah. Right. But you may still get drug into, or your documentation may still be reviewed because the transaction is being reviewed. So you never know, guys. You just never know.
What kind of things? I mean, when you talk about documenting, what tends to be those things that are key documentation things that are missed?
Disclosures, and
she said it 3 times. Okay.
Yeah, and agency's another really big one, and both of those vary a lot from market and from state to state, but the principle is the same: disclosure.
Okay. Yeah. Well, very good. I appreciate you sharing that from somebody who's seen a few cases there. Kind of shifting gears, you're director of training, and it involves a lot of technology training. And so you're constantly keeping up with stuff, but then you're also constantly reintroducing somebody afresh to technology. And some of the technology that we use at Fathom is very comprehensive, meaning that there's a lot of stuff to know and to learn in order to best use it. And as somebody who also does some technology customer service from week to week with folks, I come across sort of a spirit that says, I hate technology, or technology hates me, or I'm just not a techie person. And I get it. I mean, especially if you're just sort of out of that lane, especially even just a couple of years on things will transition so fast, and you've already learned the previous 5 technologies, that happened in your career if you've been in there long enough, and then you come to this one and you just like forget it. So there is that, but I cringe a little bit at that, because the problem is not getting any better as far as a reduction in technology being used for brokerages. It's only getting, it's not a problem, I should say the opportunity to really take advantage of technology is just getting greater and greater and greater. So do you have any advice just about, like, if you've got that, like, I hate this stuff, I can't learn anything, I'm always going to make somebody else do it. Is there some counsel that you've given over, having had experience with a lot of probably one-on-one or group stuff where you're trying to get people through the basics of some technology?
Yeah,
I know that was a very long question, so hopefully
that's okay.
it came to a
I'll
point.
give you a very long answer.
Okay.
So, we do, as you might imagine, we do have agents that say, I'm technology challenged, or just like you said, I don't like technology, and things like that. And fortunately, it's not many of them, but we do. I'll start by encouraging them to not be afraid of technology.
Sure.
Or learning about technology. You can do it, but you have to do it. With the exception of the most basic bodily functions, we had to learn how to do everything at some point, right? So, like learning to ride a bike, we had to learn how to drive a car, right? Most of us adults have that down by now, but not all of us, but most of us. Let me give you an example. So, the sweetest woman you could ever want to meet, she would give you the shirt off her back, anything she had, anything she could do to help you, to make your life better, even simply to make you smile. I'm talking about my mom. She's 83 years old. She's kind and
Is she
generous.
watching?
No, I don't think so. She's kind and generous beyond description. I mean, there should be a sainthood waiting for her in heaven, right? There's 6 of us kids in the family, and she is held on a very high pedestal in our family, right? She's not so much scared of technology as much as she's just resigned to the fact that she doesn't get it and never will, and that's just how it was, and she just accepted it as a fact. Now, I remember as a kid, there was a very small piece of black electrical tape on the front of our VCR. And do you remember a VCR? You may not. You're pretty.
Oh yes,
you're pretty
no. We had scores of recorded tapes. We didn't have cable growing up, except for like this one period where there was a deal, and my mother went hog wild on getting all of these like classics, and so she had this thing down to a science. And by the end of it, we had just boxes full of VHS tapes that we watched. We watched a lot of them. So that's how you did it.
That's right.
But yeah, go ahead. VCRs.
Yeah, so we had this little piece of black electrical tape on the front of the VCR, and it was years later until I realized she'd put it on there to cover up the flashing digits because she didn't know how to set the time. And she just accepted that was that. Well, my mom's a good Texas lady, and she still gets her hair and her nails done. So maybe 6 or 7 years ago, she got tired of her nails getting in the way when she would try to dial her flip phone, right? Her cell phone, and it was still a flip phone at that time.
Yeah.
And so she wanted to buy an iPhone. Well, I was ready to upgrade mine, and so I told her I'd give her mine, thinking that she could try it out before I bought her a new one, since she was so technology shy, if you will, right? I'm trying to put that politely. I told her that the only stipulation was that she had to learn how to text. Well, of course, her initial reaction was, no, I can't do that.
Right.
And of course, my immediate response was, yes, you can do it, Mom. And so I immediately, showed her how to do it. And while we were sitting there, I had her send her first text, and she was like, okay. And so fast forward, she now is in group threads. She sends photos, videos, calendar events. She's on Facebook reconnecting with long lost friends, exploring the internet, discovering apps and games. And she's a texting fiend. And at the end of every text, she still writes, "Love, Mom." And every single time, it still makes me smile. She's got a laptop and an iPad, and she travels with them. And I think she's on her 3rd iPhone now. And Yeah, in April, we even had a surprise 83rd birthday party for her by Zoom. So she's day and night from where she used to be, and she's getting better with age. So, you know,
There
thank
you
you for
go.
allowing me to go on about my mom. I haven't seen her in months due to COVID
But you
quarantine,
can
travel
see her via
restrictions.
FaceTime now because she learned to use an iPad.
Exactly right. So I'm
Yeah.
missing her, but anyway. But for others out there that don't have good relationships with technology, again, you've got to just start somewhere. Just start.
Right.
You
Right.
may not have a family member that you can get started with, and family members are not always a good place to learn technology. Lots of times, it causes issues, arguments, resentment, hard feelings.
So
So
yell at somebody else. You don't need to yell at
I
your family.
don't typically recommend that. It's not always the recipe for a happy home. I would recommend, however, maybe making an appointment at the Genius Bar at the local Apple store if you're working on Apple devices. Maybe Geek Squad if you're not working on Apple device. Those are great places to start for basic computer or mobile device help, setup, even training. Now, if you're looking for instruction for more real estate related technology, like your MLS or some of the local market tools, start by checking out classes that are available through your association or your board or your MLS. Most of the time, they'll have schedules of classes that are offered and included in your membership dues. So take advantage of them. You're already paying your dues, so why not use the
Right.
benefits?
Right. Well, very good.
Remember, I
Go ahead.
talked about, yeah, remember the benefits of getting involved with the different groups and organizations. So those real estate groups also are a great place for technology help because they're, again, doing meetings and they have presenters and sessions on technology too. And then your brokerage, that's a great place for training and help on this stuff too. Be a lifelong learner. If you're technology challenged, you're continuing to learn things anyway. Why should it stop at technology?
Right.
So just, there's,
And this
it's,
and
yeah.
would you say this is entirely a generational thing? I mean, it's the old notion, like, or old recent notion of saying, well, if you can't figure it out, give it to your grandkid or give it to your kid, and they'll figure it out. But is it just like that, or is it? I mean, across the generational spectrum?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will attest to that too. Again, doing customer
Yeah.
service for some technology
Yeah.
stuff. It's I think some of it too is these have allowed us to really sidestep using a laptop in so many different situations. But then when you
Yes.
get into a little bit more hardcore like technology stuff, it's a lot better to have that. But I've worked with folks that they're business owners. They don't know how to use a cursor on a laptop, which is shocking, and they're older than me. But because this has just made it so easy to do most of your communication, and so sometimes it is going back to just go to the Genius Bar like you said, or take a class and just refresh yourself on, or reintroduce yourself to some of this stuff.
It's true. But no, I find that it absolutely, like you mentioned, is not a generational thing at all. Anybody that has technology challenges, no matter what the generation, can overcome them. Again, just diving in, getting into a class, getting into a training, connecting with a network that you've got. Watch some videos, YouTube, Facebook, wherever.
Right.
Just do
Right.
something. That's the most important thing is just plugging in and
Taking your
getting
time.
started.
Yeah.
Just like a real estate business itself, we can be here to support you and train you and teach you. But when it comes to actually learning the technology,
Gotta do your
your
homework.
progress is ultimately up to
Right,
you.
right.
Yeah,
I mean, I talked with an agent not long ago that had been with Fathom for over a year, hadn't really integrated well into like KV Core, for instance. Took the time, took a bunch of classes, had his wife take or is taking some of those classes to help him out, and has just flourished. I mean, that tool that had been sitting there for a year, it really didn't take him that long to get a handle on, but it's just taking that time. I'm reminded that myself when I was working through a Excel script. It's a little bit deeper stuff. Where you're connecting formulas to scripts and all that, and the tendency is to just want to rush real quick, get the highlights. But some of those things you just can't do that. You have to spend, a half hour reading through stuff until you get it, and then the results are very powerful as far as what they can do for you. Just kind of moving along here. What's the best class that you've taken as an agent? If you were to recommend something, or at least share that experience.
Actually, I would say probably two. I'll give you two. One of them is actually a series as opposed to one class. It's the GRI, which is the Graduate Realtor Institute,
right.
And that's a designation. It's a minimum, and I say minimum because it could vary based on the state that you're in, but it's a minimum of 60 hours of coursework, and it covers a wide breadth of topics, but they range from basic market knowledge, business skills, systems, tools, avoiding setbacks, fines, lawsuits, professional standards. It is a very wide range of topics. I took it right off the bat as a new agent.
Wow.
And it was incredibly valuable because it had such a wide range of topics. And so it was a great primer, if you will, just getting into the industry. It was fantastic. Now, those of you agents that are not brand new, you're thinking, oh, okay, great. Well, I'm not a new agent. In one ear and out the other.
Right.
The other benefit of the GRI designation is, well, there's a couple. Unlike a lot of the designations, when you pay for it one time, you don't have to keep paying for it every year. That's just a little side note. So that's
cool.
a benefit.
Yeah.
But the other benefit that I want to highlight to you about the GRI designation is you can continue to take the classes, to retake the classes. So as a seasoned agent, you can come back and take those classes year after year after year after year. So you can get updates on them throughout your real estate career. So this is the designation that keeps giving back. It
right.
keeps benefiting you. It's fantastic.
Very good. I didn't know that. That's
really recommend
awesome.
That one. Yeah, I really recommend that one. The other best class as an agent I've taken is, and this one might not sound like a real estate related class, but there are actually several reasons why.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why this is one of my favorite.
Will you find it on NAR.com or .org?
You will not.
Okay.
And if you do, I haven't found it on NAR yet, but you can find it at your local Harley-Davidson dealership. And that is a motorcycle riding class. All right.
Okay.
So there's three reasons why that class. I took my motorcycle riding class 5 years ago, and
Can I show them a snapshot of that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Here's if you want the proof, here it is.
I don't know
That
how
is
many
our show
motorcycle
guest.
riders we have out there, but listening right now. But here in North Carolina, we have amazing motorcycle riding, and that picture was taken on Tail of the Dragon. If any of you are motorcycle riders, you know what Tail of the Dragon is. But my bike weighs 750 pounds. It's full-size Harley. It was terrifying taking a motorcycle riding class for me as an adult and having never ridden one. So overcoming that obstacle was a huge thing. But getting past the fear of it was was big, right? But there were three things that I learned from that class that really do translate into real estate and life in general, but real estate as I want to highlight it now. One of them is when you're turning. When you're turning a motorcycle or when you're turning on a motorcycle, you don't just watch the road right in front of you, right where you are, right in front of you. You look through the turn. So you focus on the far side of the turn. Instead of right here in front of you, you focus on the other side of the turn where you're going to come out of the turn. So you're focusing on your goal, your objective, where you want to go. Not where you are now, but where you want to go. So that really carries. That's certainly applicable to real estate, right? The other thing is, as you're learning and you're riding, you're out and you're in the class and then as you're continuing to ride, you get to where you have to expect everything. Not expect anything, expect everything. So when you come up to an intersection, you've got to watch for cars, parked cars, moving cars, empty cars. You've got to watch for pets, birds, lights, sidewalks, everything, shopping carts, everything. And you have to anticipate what they're going to do as well. And if they don't do it, great. But if they do, you're ready. And in traffic, especially in traffic, minivans, right? Again, any of you motorcycle riders, minivans are like your nemesis, right?
Why is that?
Because they're always distracted. And they're not watching you.
That makes sense.
They're watching who's back seat.
That's all I ever drive now is a minivan.
Yeah, so
and it's true.
So you've got to be ready for them to veer in your lane or anything. You just really got to be careful. So that is definitely not just a bike thing, right? That's a real estate thing. We have to be ready for everything and expect anything, right? So that really translates to me. The other thing is, when you're in a turn on the bike or just riding along, another thing you've really got to do is lean in with the bike. And if let's say you're going into a turn, if you don't lean in with the bike's going to turn, but it's going to what we call high side, and that means flip over. You're gonna crash. You're gonna wreck. It's over. So you've got to lean in and trust that the bike is going to do what it's supposed to do, and you got to go with it. And so that's life too, right?
So here we go. We've got
go with it.
We've got look ahead, expect everything, and lean in. So if you got nothing else from the show, do that. And then, but looking ahead, get your training. Know where you want to go with that. And of course, 2020 is an expect everything sort of lesson. So. Well, very good. Yeah. We probably got to better wrap up here, but just real quick, any books that you've read recently that you would recommend to our viewers?
There are. One that I finished recently is called Made to Stick: Why Some Ideas Survive and Others Die. That's by Chip Heath and Dan Heath. And that was interesting. It was it talked about influence and getting your ideas across, and that was a good book. It came out in 2006. But yeah, I recommended that one. And one I just started, and this actually I saw on one of our Facebook groups, and so I picked it up. I'm just listening to it. It's Exactly What to Say. And there are several versions of it, but there's one that just came out in October, and it's Exactly What to Say for real estate agents. And so it has how to change ever so slightly some of the questions that you ask or how you present things, and what he calls magic words or subconscious words, changing tiny little words that really get different results. So that one has been interesting. Some of it's refresher stuff, but other parts of it are have been kind of, that makes a lot of sense, kind of aha moments. So
very good. Well, there's a ton of comments, by the way, and I've sort of we've kind of gone past them here, but was somebody asking, are the Women Council of Realtors, is that everywhere, or is that just North Carolina? But I saw
Across
somebody
the
else
country.
follow up and say, yeah, it's everywhere. I know Brenda
That's
Brewster's
huge.
on that.
Yeah.
She's a leader out in Tennessee. Another person, Karen Brooks,
Yeah.
says that she's on her council there.
Yeah, you can go to wcr.org or just Google Women's Council of Realtors. Yeah. Your local association or board probably has information on it too. There's probably a local chapter at your association or board, then you may not even know about it, but it probably is where you are. They're everywhere. It's one of the largest women's organizations that there is. And here's a fun fact, it's not just for women.
Good to know.
When it started, it was for women because back in the 30s, 40s, women needed help in the industry. So that's why it was created. But that's not the case anymore. So there are men in the council. There are network presidents in the council. But they've kept the name as
like
a
the
legacy.
YMCA. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so,
very good.
So
Okay.
it's not just for women.
Well,
But
good.
yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you know an Alicia Ayers.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say the name right? She, I think after talking about your mother, she said the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So just passing that along. Yeah, a lot of great comments here. Any last takeaways before we hang up?
I would just say, get involved. No surprise. And the other is, be a lifelong learner. There's always something to learn. Everything. And an obvious place to do that is through training and classes. Make the time to do that. But getting involved in those situations, in those organizations and situations, that's a great way for you to be able to give back. You can make a difference and have an impact in other people's lives and get to learn from the experience at the same time. It's really a win-win. So I just can't stress that enough. Yeah.
Well, very good. I appreciate you coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. And also the good example that you're setting for the rest of the agent community in this. So thank you for that and for all the recommendations. We both have work to do. So we probably, as director folk here, we probably should get back to work. But again, thank you, and I hope our agents watching, if you didn't get a nugget or two out of that, then you need to go back and watch it again because it was good. So I appreciate it. For those of you, we'll let you go here. For those of you still watching, remember to check us out at fathomcareers.com, and you'll notice that we are an agent-centric brokerage offering a fantastic commission plan and the tools designed for your success. Fathom really offers themselves as a great platform for you to build your business. Not only is there a lot of technology for you, but there's also local leadership and training so that you can really, as to our episode here, enhance yourself as an agent and be the best that you can be in the business. So check out fathomcareers.com. In a couple of weeks here, I guess it would be the third Wednesday of the month, we have Evan. And I lost my notes here for her last name. Evan Lawing from Zillow. She is going to be with us. She's a corporate account manager, but she's going to be bringing some guests on who are also our agents. And so these agents with Fathom use Zillow. Some of them use it as a primary source for leads. Others use Zillow as sort of a supplementary source for leads. And so she's going to bring some of our top producers that use Zillow as a lead source and really have kind of a Q&A and an open discussion with them. Bring your questions for Evan, and she'll be kind of taking those and fielding those with that group, and it's a really great opportunity to learn what you can do with that lead source. Check if you want to subscribe to the live show and be notified. Again, hit that notification bell. Also go to fathomcareers.com/live, and you can sign up for those email notifications as well. I hope you have a happy Independence Day. I know it might look a little bit different this year with the social distancing, but I hope you can have a restful weekend if it's possible as a real estate agent, as well as just enjoy time celebrating the independence that our country has. So we'll see you in a couple weeks.